Echo Rock the bus behind the 744 Gage Avenue and 750 Gage Avenue. Stand 4.
Hey, it's Pete and Julie from Rush the Bus, and we're with Richie Fredell, right? Is that right, Rich?
That's
All
it.
right. And he's a paramedic in the city of Pittsburgh, and he's also he's actually Adam's partner, so we coerced him into coming on, so because he isn't from Pittsburgh. So,
Yeah.
what's up,
How you
Rich?
doing?
How you doing?
Good to see you.
I'm doing well.
Good to see you guys.
I'm doing well.
I'm stoked to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you.
Yeah.
So, Rich, you're not from Pittsburgh. How did you get to Pittsburgh EMS?
It's a funny
Wait.
story.
Let's back up real quick.
Okay.
Oh my
Let's ask him about. So, where are you from originally? Since you're not from Pittsburgh.
So originally, I'm from Southern California, so just north of LA, like a small beach town called Ventura. So I grew up there, then moved up to the San Francisco Bay Area with a girl when I was like 17,
Mm.
and lived there until I was about. We just moved, here in January of 2019. So yeah, so I've been bouncing around a little bit, but I was in the Bay Area for a long time, almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And this isn't your first. You haven't been in EMS for a long time, right?
No. So like EMS is like almost like my third or fourth career, really. I'm 40 years old, and then I made the decision to like become an EMT when I was like 35 or so.
Okay.
So I was doing all kinds of stuff, man. I bartended for 6 years in San Francisco. I worked for a couple tech companies. I worked for Apple at an Apple store for like 5 years. And I was like always looking for this, I'd always hear people say, you just find something that you do and you'll never work a day in your life. I'm like, when am I going to find this thing that people talk about, right? Like doing all this stupid crap, like doing tech support over the phone. And so I worked for a tech company my last couple years before doing this, and was making tons of money, and it was just like wasn't fulfilling. What I was doing was not like what I wanted to do. I was like 36, I was answering just horrible, just customer service emails. I'm like, what's my legacy gonna be, when I get old and talking to my grandkids about like what I did.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah. I answer the emails the quickest.
Yeah. So that's basically what happened. Like, started talking to a friend of mine one day who was a firefighter down in at that time he worked for Cal Fire, which is like California State Fire. And I asked him, I'm like, hey man, I'm 36. Am I too old to become at that time I wanted to be a firefighter, and I'm like, am I too old to do this? He's like, hell no, man, you're not too old to make the switch. So went home to my wife and talked to her. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? Going from my current salary of whatever it was, like over $100,000 working for a tech company to, working as an EMT on a BLS, transport truck for $13 an hour. How's that sound? And, I gave credit to my wife because she knew I just like wasn't happy with what I was doing. So went to EMT school, and then kind of the rest is, it's history. I worked for a BLS transport company in Alameda County called Royal Ambulance. That's an awesome ambulance company. It's a private that just does like BLS, non-emergency transports and critical care transports, and worked there for 6 months, and then got hired at AMR. Worked for AMR for 2 years in San Mateo County. In the Bay Area, so just south of San Francisco, the San Mateo County. So I worked there as an EMT, 911 EMT, but and then went to paramedic school at the City College of San Francisco. So pretty stoked on my school. Really good program. Awesome leadership, and like faculty has been there for a long time. So it's a really good school. I'm stoked to get in there.
Yeah.
So got my medic, and then we were going to move somewhere else because obviously it's really expensive, and in the Bay Area, and with what I was doing, I wasn't making a ton of money, and I just wanted to be able to save money and buy a house. So,
Yeah.
you know, I really wanted to work for a third service. That was my big thing. Was like, I worked for a private for a long time, and I just personally, I couldn't see myself working for a private as a career. Like, finally, I found like what I wanted to do, but I had to find like where I wanted to do it. So, like, I couldn't picture myself working for, you know, a private company for the rest of my career. So, but I really wanted to work for a city, a county, you know, whatever. So my wife and I started doing research and going around to different places in the U.S. for a little bit less, like about a year. We visited like Wake County in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Right along with Wake County EMS. It's a great third service. And then we went to New Orleans, obviously, and found out there's large flying bugs in New Orleans. My wife is like deathly afraid of them. So the second we stepped out of the hotel, she's like, this is out. But we love New Orleans. And randomly, my wife went on a business trip to Cleveland. And she came back and she was like, hey, we should maybe give some thought to these cities that are like kind of outside of the norm, like Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. So I just looked at a map and I was like, what's around there? And I looked at Pittsburgh and I was like, hey, I'm going to do some research and see if, you know, what kind of EMS like Pittsburgh has. Is it private? You know, what is it? Is it fire-based? What is it? So I started doing research and I was just blown away that about like how I never knew about what, you know, Pittsburgh EMS, you know, is before, just because it's so specialized in the spectrum of the different kinds of EMS that we have in this country, right? We have fire-based, we have privates, we have, you know, third service, and then, you know, there's very few, you know, there's very few EMS that do kind of what we do. And so you know, a couple of years ago, while we were doing that, we came to Pittsburgh during the summer for like 4 days. We visited just to check it out, and we were blown away by like how gorgeous it was. You think of Pittsburgh when you're not from Pittsburgh, and you think like steel mills and, you know, sulfur, you know, like fumes into the air, and it's like has been like that for a long time. You know? It's a gorgeous city. It's like San Francisco. It's really photogenic.
Okay.
It's blue collar. It's like people are really nice and people are really hardworking here. But like if you get on their bad side, you know what I mean? You don't want to fuck with them. Like it's like Boston and it's like you know, like you don't screw with Boston. You just know, like you don't screw with Boston. You don't screw with New York.
Yeah.
And I found that like that same thing here, where you kind of don't screw with Pittsburghers, but they're the nicest, most open, kind of welcoming people.
Yeah.
But they're very serious about certain things, like sports. Sports is a big thing here. It's crazy. So that's really big. And then they're big about, you know, supporting their first responders. And I really like that. I mean, I like being a part of the agency that I work for, the bureau that I work for, because we've been around for so long, and we're just super integrated into the city. It's like we're part of the Department of Public Safety. It's it's Bureau of Fire, Police, and EMS. It's like that's how it's always been. So yeah, that's kind of how I got here in a little nutshell.
Which is actually a pretty cool adventure, but it ended up working out really nicely, you know, like to kind of find this sort of place to go that actually really end up liking.
Yeah, I think that was the whole idea, was like, man, I really love doing this. This is my career. Where am I going to do this? You know? So you got to find where you want to do it. I'm just really thankful that my wife, you know, like was there to back me, not only with my career change, but like when we both knew we wanted to move, but kind of me finding, it worked out for both of us because she found a place to work here. We bought a house, we're saving money, you know, I work for an agent's, for a bureau, that like we make a good amount of money versus, you know, we're on the other side of the spectrum. When you're talk about typical EMS in this country, you know, like we have a good union, a good contract, and a lot of benefits that, you know, like are awesome. So
Yeah. What was it like when you? So how did EMT class work in California? How did you apply for that?
yeah, so basically in California at that time, you know, I was working for a startup, right? So I'm like working at my desk at this startup
Yeah.
space, and I'm like on this other tab, you know, looking up EMT stuff, and I'm like, I gotta do this as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Because I need my life to change. I need my career to change. I'm gonna be a EMT tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So there was a school that actually did it in like 21 days. So I yeah. There's actually ones that do it in less time in California, but
Oh my gosh.
typically like it's a community college thing. Like you
Okay.
go to a community college, or you can go to like a private company that does, you know, that does EMT instruction. So I
Okay.
did one with a private company. I paid more, but I got it done faster.
Okay.
You know, it was fine. You know, I think I had a good experience, but you typically apply the same way. It ranges from like 6 months to, you know, there's a school called Unitech in California that does it, I want to say in like 8 days or 9
What?
days.
What?
Yeah.
I know.
I don't know, man.
I know.
How good do you come out after 8 days?
No, and it's you remember how EMT school was, man. Like I remember it being, I just remember being like kind of being afraid to get out of my comfort zone, outside of the box, right?
Yeah.
So when I have like these EMT students that come on the ambulance and do a ride along, whenever it is that's one thing I try to impart like on them when they're brand new EMTs and have never, you know, is just touching people, like being able to like touch patients and be able to get like good manual blood pressure and just the basics, and not fake it, you know, because there were some times where, you know, like I was in EMT school, you throw the cuff on and then you can't hear it and you're like, it's 122 over. And I'm like, to my students, I'm like, just don't feel bad if you can't hear it. If you can't hear it,
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah. Mm.
You know, because so
I like when you get the odd number blood pressure from a new person. 123 over 75. Okay.
what's the best is the one like super like salty old medic that we all work with, that like when he sees that or gets it from a report from somebody, he's like freaks out about the odd number, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
137, like 137 and a blood pressure.
Do you know what's funny, that even if I get one on, like if I take it manually, I mean, I take it manually because I like to do it, but if I get one on the monitor and I upload it into my tablet and it says like 127 over 73, I like correct it. Because even though it's like, that's what the monitor said, I'm like, no, that's not right.
I change it.
Yeah.
It's just weird. God. Did you have to do ride-alongs when you were in EMT class in California?
Yeah, I mean, it's real, like it's super cursory. It's I want to say 16 hours, so like 2 8-hour shifts.
Okay. Who'd you ride with? You remember?
Yeah, I rode with, so again, going back to like being kind of like scared a little bit.
Yeah.
We had a choice of riding with an ALS, like the ALS 911 provider in Alameda County, which is Oakland.
Okay.
Very, very, very busy system. Like
Okay.
super busy. A lot of sick people, a lot of stuff. So we had the choice of either riding with the ALS company or a BLS like transport company, transporting dialysis, things like that. And I was like, just super nervous, and I was like, oh, you know, take the BLS transport company. Now thinking about it, you know, years down the road, I'm like, I really wish I would have, you know, spent some time on the 911 ambulance versus being on a BLS truck. So, and it, you know, it's not a 911 truck. You're just, you know, waiting for that dialysis call or whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I do have a funny story.
Go.
So, when you're like, you have like a student in the truck and you're like trying to be like, you're showing off a little bit, not too much, show off a little bit, right? So
Yeah.
I'm with this BLS company, and we're going down International Boulevard in Oakland, where there's a lot of prostitutes on that block. And so we're at a red light, and I'm in the back seat with my head like poked up through the trying to be part of the coolness.
Yeah.
And I guess walking down the left side of the ambulance is a prostitute. We're at a stoplight, and she starts to cross the street in the crosswalk, and the driver, who was one of my preceptors, or one of the guys I was with, basically thought it would be cool to like honk their air horn,
Oh no.
at just out, but projected.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was like it scared her, obviously, and she was on big old, big platform, fell like flat on her face.
Oh no.
So we had like on the plates, and he's like so we're first on scene to someone, like she fell and like screwed up her ankle, so basically
Hook her down.
So he gets on the radio. It's like, I'm going to need a 911. And he has to call 911.
You can't even pick it up?
At that time, it wasn't like they weren't connected. They weren't on the same system. So
Yeah.
So they had to call 911. It's like, we're at the corner of blah, blah, blah. So.
Yikes.
I was honking at a prostitute, and she fell.
Hey. That's what happens when you try to show off.
Was she pissed?
She was pretty pissed, yeah. And it's an area that you don't want to mess with those girls too. Like they're not, people to be messed with, right?
Yeah.
And I was so petrified of what was happening around me.
Yeah.
And they were kind of too. It wasn't like they knew basically what to do,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So how long after? So when you finished school, you stayed working at the startup, or where'd you go? You said you went to Royal.
So I started. So I got done in June, got my EMT, and then I actually waited until January of the next year to actually start looking for an EMS job.
Okay.
So I stayed working for that startup, and then I quit that one, and then started consulting for another startup, and then.
Okay.
And then at that time, I had just gotten married. So I got married that same year. And then we went to Italy because my wife's Italian. So I went and met my in-laws in Italy after I'd been married for 6 months. And that was interesting. But it was cool. In that January, I decided, to get a job. So I applied at this BLS ambulance company. And, it was just a good fit. They were very... they knew that, especially being a brand new EMT, it's a very like fluid situation. It's a stepping stone to the next, paramedic school, or you're going to be a firefighter, you're going to be an NP, or whatever you're going to do, whatever it is. But they were super cognizant about that, about like being there for their people, knowing that they're just kind of this middle, they're only going to have them for a little bit, and they're going to let them down the road.
Yeah.
They were just really great, and they still are. So it was a great little company I worked for 8 months, and then went over to the big bad 911 world because, every call before I started 911, I thought, like every call's like life and death.
Yeah.
Sirens, run down the street on the wrong lanes, like. And then I got into it and realized that 90% of it's BS, and the other 10%. Then there's the 5% where you're just like, oh crap, like all like calls that you'll never forget. But at the same time, it's awesome when you are done with them, no matter the outcome, to like look around at who you're with, and you're like, man, remember that one day we ran that one call with that one guy or girl. It's awesome to have that camaraderie with another person, even though, they might not be your regular partner.
Yeah.
But even with your regular partner, but that's why I love EMS, is because we have that camaraderie with other people that not many other professions, minus like police and nurses and things like that. I can really understand.
Yeah, because there's only two people. You know what I mean? It's only you and your partner.
Seriously, like, and I never really understood that relationship, because watched a lot of cop shows and things, and
Yeah.
that is a powerful relationship between partners, but I never experienced it until you get into EMS and BLS, and then you're working on a 911 ambulance, and now working with another paramedic, which is great for me as a new medic, because I just got my medic in November of what, not last year, the year before. So I've only been a medic for a little over a year, like maybe like a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
So good to have. We're an all ALS. Well, all ALS. We're all paramedics on the ALS ambulance or medic units in Pittsburgh. So it's always great to have another paramedic with me at all times, especially as a medic, because being able to bounce things off off your partner, or when you're kind of at one of those points where it could go either way.
Yeah.
And that other voice being able to like direct you, help out a little bit is indispensable for me.
Yeah. I still feel like that. I mean, I think that I'm lucky to have Pete as my partner because I think he's like a really great medic. But I was also, I think, lucky to have him when I came back from childcare leave, because I felt almost like a brand new medic again because I'd been out for so long. Yeah. And it was like getting my skills back and getting the way I looked at things back. It was like really nice to have someone who knew what the heck was going on, because I did work, like when I had a young son, I worked at a private ambulance company, and it was like me as the medic and a BLS partner. And we'd have some pretty critically ill patients that we were transporting between hospitals for like post-arrest. And man, that was super nerve-wracking. Like I felt so freaked out all the time because I was just like, yikes, this person like is really, really ill. They were just in cardiac arrest 30 minutes ago. And, I'm like, how do you work this IV pump? I don't know, and my partner's like, yeah, I'm BLS. I don't know, and
you're in the back.
Yeah. So it was scary.
When I moved here to Pennsylvania, like I got a job while I was in the hiring process with Pittsburgh EMS. I got another job, my very first medic job, because I just got my license, with a private service in Allegheny County, and covers a lot of areas with different like poor areas, rich areas, like knife and gun club areas, and then areas where you're not turning sirens on in neighborhoods at certain times and things like that. And that was my first medic job, and I had a BLS partner, and I can remember just being like, I was all about like, what's your FTO process, and like how are you going to, where's the mentorship, and like
Nope.
And they're like, no, you're an ALS provider, and get on that ambulance over there. And then there was one night where probably like 2 weeks in, or 3 weeks in, where somehow it happened where I was the only ALS provider for like 3 of our districts, and I asked, I'm like, so like random question, like how many people is that? They're like 600,000 maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Just like just the amount of area, and it wasn't that much, but it was like a lot of people. It was like 100,000 people. And I remember thinking in my head, like as someone who was just brand new, being like, I hadn't had an arrest like by myself yet. Like I hadn't had really any like crazy pediatric calls, and my backup was like 15 minutes away. And so, yeah, totally. I know what you mean, where you're just at the beginning or how I am sometimes still, where, anything can happen, and, you're just, but I don't know, I kind of almost wouldn't have it any other way. Like those situations are crazy. I'm glad I now have, like awesome support around me all the time. Like no matter what happens, if I'm on scene somewhere and something goes down and it's crazy, like I can call in the cavalry and I will literally have an engine company, 1 or 2 rescue trucks, like a doctor, 2 doctors. Like I can have a lot of different people there, like pretty quick. So I never feel like now I'm never not supported, you know. It's cool.
That is that's
Yeah.
like a nice feeling to have, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's good for also the people that you serve, you know, like it makes it feel like, I don't know, you've got like a good team assembled, you know?
Yeah. It's nice because no matter how much people will bitch about like, oh, you know, I have to get up in the middle of the night and run back, like come be medical backup for you guys. Everybody always has a great like attitude when they get on scene. It's like, you know, what can I do? Like there's just, because all of a sudden you have like 6 paramedics, like just
Yeah.
throwing shit around, you know, like someone's driving, there's 3, you know, it's just awesome to watch, you know, especially being someone who's new like me, watching people who've done it for a long time. And we have people, I have one partner that has been a medic at Pittsburgh EMS for like over 35 years.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's just cool to watch those guys kind of work too, and watch the orchestra go.
Yeah.
You remember your first medic call in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I remember my first medic call in Pennsylvania was it was a pediatric call, and it ended up being like, it was early in the morning. It was like 7:30 in the morning, and thank goodness I was with an EMT partner who was in medic school, who was a very good, solid EMT.
Yeah.
Who had my back. And that was one really great thing about that company, is that everybody I worked with I had a solid BLS partner.
Yeah.
Who knew the operations. And so it was a pediatric, like came out as like altered level of consciousness. We get there, it's like basically like a screaming mother, you know, running down the stairs, like basically handing their child.
Yeah.
And he's not limp. There's not like a loss of muscle tone. He's just like maybe looking, you know, that 1,000-yard stare where they're looking kind of through you.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like looking at me, but the overwhelming thing I'm seeing the mother in my face, you know, and my partners, you know, we get him in the back, and, you know, I'm in my mind's running like 1,000 miles a minute because she's screaming at me. And you know, that's when it's nice being at that, you know, 38, 39 years old, and the life experience comes in from, you know, like the previous careers, you know, they go to waste, you know. So whether it's dealing with somebody on the phone or a difficult customer or whatever, it's almost like the same kind of like mindset, where I just had to like slow down, and like, the kid's not dying, he's breathing, he's got an airway, he's breathing, and like he's not bleeding to death. So right now he's okay. I'm gonna like look at you, mom, and just kind of try to reassure you a little bit, and then deal with the kid. And it ended up being like, there was nothing really like going on with him, except he was like tired, and, you know, he had some, you know, had some shots, and it might have been a reaction to the shots, but it ended up being like starting kind of like hectic and crazy, but kind of
A lot of people feed into that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for
you
sure.
can get sucked into the whole chaos, you know, like a mom yelling, or the scene yelling, then you start yelling.
Yeah.
And then it just goes south from there.
And I think that, like, for me, when I was younger, that was a lot harder to kind of like put on the back burner. I mean, I think I'm 40 also, and like I am a mom, and I've, you know, been in the workforce for a long time. So it's like there's a lot of elements that kind of make me sort of stop what I'm doing and like calm down a little bit. But I do remember being younger. I remember being younger one time on a call that came in as a pediatric cardiac arrest, and I was with an older, I mean, I'm using the term older, but like she was like a much more experienced paramedic. She was probably like a few years older than me, like now, but she was a great paramedic. She's retired. And we were going up, it was like on a 2nd or 3rd story walk up. And the whole time we're going up the stairs, I can hear the mom screaming. And I'm like, I remember my heart was like pounding, because I was just like, oh God, like this is going to be a dead kid. And like, I was really upset. And then when we get there, the mom opens the door and the kid is crying in her arms. And like my partner at the time was just like, okay, what's happening? And she was like, yeah, she won't stop crying. And she was like, all right, let's go. And like, she was so calm and just kind of like turned around because she had been a mom. I think at that point she had like 3 kids, and like she like shut that down immediately. Like, all right, why are you acting like this? Like to the mom. And then we just like took the kid down to the truck and like brought them to the hospital, and everything was fine. And it was like all of those nerves and anxiety just kind of were like, oh, like this wasn't anything. It was just like a case of the brand new moms, where like the mom was afraid because the kid was crying and like couldn't stop the kid from crying, and the baby was like 3 weeks old. But like when you get on that scene, you're like totally terrified. And sometimes having like a mentor who's been around the block a few times, who's got some experience, who's got some age, who's maybe got the parenting thing, like it makes a big difference. Because I was younger and I was like gonna puke. I was so nervous.
It's crazy how many things are going on at one time, like in our world. Like I was thinking about it a couple of days ago, like driving Adam, I think it was Adam in the back, to the hospital, not like emergency or anything, but talking on the radio, like clearing intersections, like listening to other traffic. Like it's crazy how many things like we have going on at one time, being in the front, or in the back. But it's cool to watch people that, like you were saying, like mentors or that have been doing it for a long time, and how they work.
Yeah. You remember any preceptors from when you were in medic class? Like, where'd you ride in medic class?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
How much ride time? Because I had to do a month, because I went to Jeff in Philly.
Yeah.
So I had to do, it was like a full month. I was on medic 3.
So like, it's crazy like how it works, and it's different in different states. So in California, you basically you have didactic time in a class, and then you have clinical time where you go to the hospital, and it's you have different kinds of shifts. So like OB, psych, trauma, all the shifts.
Yep.
So was really fortunate enough to be in the city of San Francisco, which is a crazy town. There's a lot going on in SF. Like there's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of like drugs, but there's this high end, tech scene. Right?
Yeah.
So I did all my clinical time at San Francisco General Hospital, which is a public hospital. So, they take everybody. It's not, it's a crazy scene, but I learned a ton there, and learned from some amazing nurses, and ran some crazy calls, and it was a great place because they kind of just knew you were a medic student, and they just threw you in. They were like, there's no time to be scared.
Yeah.
Just go. Like, you got to go. And so it kind of got me into that mentality where it's like, in this community or in this career, like, you got to get out of your comfort zone sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be out of it. And that's how it works. So I learned that there. And then, so after that, you have truck timer, your internship in California. So it's a minimum of 480 hours. And most people are going to be with the same preceptor. So I had an amazing preceptor. Now he's like one of my best friends. You
could say his name if you want. It's okay.
So I did my truck time, or my ride along time, with my internship with the San Francisco Fire Department.
That's pretty cool. All right.
Pretty awesome, because nobody else gets to do it except City College of San Francisco.
Okay.
Paramedics. So I got to ride on the red box, like through San Francisco for me, it was like 520 hours. So it was about a little over 4 months. So how it works is you just work their schedule. So my preceptor had his schedule, and I worked his schedule. Like, so we worked from like 4:45 in the morning to like 4:45 p.m. and work 12-hour shifts, and 3 on, 3 off. And but I think, like, so my preceptor, his name is Andrew Barnikoff, and he has been a paramedic for a long time, and he was a flight medic for a long time. He started when he was like 18. He was one of those guys that was like the volunteer at 18, and then,
Mhm.
critical care paramedic, and then worked in Alameda County in Oakland, which it's like the Wild West. It's a crazy place to work as a paramedic, is in Oakland and in that county. So he worked there for like 12 years, and then started working for the San Francisco Fire Department. And he had great partners, two great guys, and one guy named Jason Freeland, and another guy named Josh Rado, that were like, it was just a great like team effort, like that they were there for me like so much in every situation. There was never like, you know it is when you're on your truck time and you're running a call and something goes like haywire and you're going sideways and they're like trying to get you back on track. And there was never like yelling or embarrassing or any kind of like anything like that. There was so many teachable like moments and so many things that I just learned so much in my internship. Like, it set up such a great foundation for me, and made me like three lifelong friends.
Yeah.
So even now to this day, like if something goes down at work and I have like a crazy call, or I talk to my partner about it, but one of the first people I call or I text is my preceptor.
Yeah.
And obviously I haven't been a paramedic that long, but
Yep.
I text him and we talk about, whatever I was thinking, or where my head was, or where my assessment was, or what I totally screw up, or
It's good though. I mean, that's the thing, is like a lot of people in EMS, like I think that they're scared to ask questions of people, because they're going to get eaten alive.
Yeah.
And I think like everybody needs that one person that you feel safe with, that you can ask like the dumbest question, like, did you see this MI? Like, I'm not a cardiologist by any means.
Yeah.
So,
You're totally right. I mean, you need someone that you can like confide in, but at the same time, like, it's nice to have at least maybe like a small group of people that's more open, that you can kind of like discuss things with, and be able to ask stupid questions and not get get ripped too bad. Like, not too bad. You know what I mean? Like, so, but yeah, I mean, it's awesome to have, somebody like that. But I remember my internship being, really it's 20, 25, 12-hour shifts. And at the beginning, being just so scared off my ass about like everything. I remember my first call on my internship, it was like a man down under like one of the newspaper carriers, the big racks that have like 20. So it was like somebody down, which happens a lot in downtown in San Francisco, and down calls, whatever. We show up, and as a intern, you have to wear what they call the turtle shell, which is like the BLS, like the ALS, like the first in bag, but it's one of those like backpacks.
Okay.
So we had to wear it out the back of the side of the ambulance. So I get out and I go up to the patient who's down, basically unresponsive. I don't know yet, but I get like kneel down and get like right up to him. And my preceptor grabs that backpack, like strapped to me, right? He grabs the back of that backpack and rips me up so fast. Like, he's like, don't you ever get, like, don't, after the fact, we talked about, like, don't you ever get down there in somebody's face. Like, everybody in this city, you have to, in this mentality, like when you're dealing with calls on the street, like everybody's going to be armed. Like whether it's a screwdriver or like just something to protect themselves, because, like imagine living on the street and getting effed with constantly from other people trying to steal your stuff or trying to mess with you, or, that was a crazy thing. It's like a lot of women too. Yeah. Most women that were on the street, that would have multiple weapons on them because, they're going to get sexually assaulted by whoever it is. And you better believe, you better make yourself known as you approach that person, my name's Richie. Paramedic intern with the fire department,
Yeah.
But I learned a lot on the streets of San Francisco. Yeah.
What station were you at? I mean, I'm not really. Where's that?
So the way that it works in San Francisco is that SFFD is dynamically like deployed across the city. Okay. There's So they're not in stations. Like with Pittsburgh EMS, we all have stations, and it's awesome because we have recliners and
I don't want to hear about that.
I'm sorry,
I don't
guys.
want to hear about this. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
They're posted like you guys are.
Okay.
And, so 12 hours they're in the truck, but they deploy from one central station, and that's
Oh, wow.
Station 49, which is down in like Hunters Point, down there, India Basin. So they're deployed from one place. They're building a new one in the next couple of years, but so they run 911 calls there, and then they are the number one, provider, and then AMR, and then there's a company that's been an ambulance company in San Francisco for like 120 years called King American that runs calls in SF, and then so it's there's a lot of calls. It's really busy in San Francisco. So
Does the fire department get like a certain kind of call, versus like the privates?
I'm like not 100% sure, but like there's always more fire department units on, and there's only always like a couple King units and a couple AMR units on, but really usually it's so busy in the system most of the time, at least when I was on my internship there, that like basically you were just kind of it's being dispatched to the closest geographic unit. So that's basically, as long as there's an ALS provider on the ambulance, like, but then they would get fire department backup, an engine company, and they would get, usually probably just an engine. Okay.
Is there anything interesting that you remember from San Francisco that you found completely weird to Pittsburgh? Anything they did that you've carried? Well, I shouldn't say weird, but that you've carried over.
Well, I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff that I brought. One kind of really weird thing that is definitely different here is dealing with fire departments here versus fire departments in San Francisco. So in California, there's almost every department's a paid fire department. There's not many volunteer fire departments, whereas in Pennsylvania, except for the city of Pittsburgh. The city of Pittsburgh's a paid, the Bureau of Fire is paid. But there's a lot of volunteer fire departments around here. And working here for the first time with volunteer firefighters on scene is a lot different than working with even, firefighters with, that are EMTs or have some kind of like EMR experience. But now, working for Pittsburgh EMS and working at Medic 2, where Adam and I work, we one of the boroughs that we cover is actually not in the city of Pittsburgh. It's a borough. It's its own borough. It's called Mount Oliver, and it's right in the middle of our area. And we do EMS for Mount Oliver. So whenever we get a call in Mount Oliver, that's like an E0 or an E1 call. Actually E0 now. We'll get a volunteer quick response vehicle, and and those guys, they hustle. They whatever you need them to do, like they're gonna do. It's just 3 guys in a truck. You know what I mean? They just show up and they have equipment, and they come in and they're just like what do you need? And now they know, because we run so many different kind of calls there that it's an overdose. They know they're going to be bagging, even though they might not be like they know how to bag because we've taught them how to bag, because in this kind of situation when they get on scene, like they know that's what they're going to do.
That is interesting.
That's one big thing. Dealing different fire departments was one big thing that was a shock to me here.
Yeah, because California's most of it's career. Most of it, they have some volunteers out there.
Some, yeah, but it's mostly super competitive from firefighter, and but yeah, that's what I wanted to do initially, and then I started doing like fire stuff, like fire's hot and hose is heavy. 36 years old or 37, and I was just like, and I really liked the medical part.
Yeah.
And I wasn't so entranced with the big red truck, and then I went to paramedic school, and it was all she wrote. And now I have this is my job. Like I love my job. Like I love, I love being able to call myself a Pittsburgh paramedic. It's awesome, So
Hmm.
yeah,
Cool.
career.
All right. So you told us an interesting story. So you moved to Pittsburgh. How did you get there?
Oh, dude. So interesting story. That's
Mhm.
So we decided that because we have pets, we have three cats and a dog, a little white dog, and a baby at that time. She was 4 months old. So we decided that. So this was not going to be anything in the air at all. We're like, we're going to have to drive this, but we're going to be moving also. So we rented a 27-foot RV, one of those like or those Cruise America ones that you see.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
So I rented one of those and drove across country with the baby, the 4-month-old, the pets, like all the pets and all of our stuff. So that's how we got across the country.
And your wife doesn't drive, right?
Yeah, and my wife doesn't drive. So
Oh my gosh.
my wife doesn't drive, and it was kind of nerve-wracking though, because it wasn't like I thought it was going to be like this leisurely cross-country
Yeah.
trip. Let's take some time, let's see the sights, let's take pictures. And having a kid in the car, and it's not like made to be like a passenger car, like, so having the kid and having the pets, and it was just really kind of nerve-wracking. We got
Wasn't as much fun.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I mean,
Oh.
it was fun. The experience was fun, but
Yeah.
we got done. We were so stoked to be done. And then we came through the Fort Pitt Tunnel, coming into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is unique because it has a really awesome kind of entrance into the city through one of the tunnels. So when you go through the Fort Pitt Tunnel, when you start the tunnel, it's kind of long. You can't really tell what's at the end.
Yeah.
But going up this kind of incline, so you can see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Then as you get closer to the end of the tunnel, you can't really tell what's past it. And then when you hit it, it's just this huge like cityscape, like the whole skyline of Pittsburgh.
Oh
It's
wow.
gorgeous. Like, so after 5 days of driving across country to come through the Fort Pitt Tunnel, it was a very like big, like emotional moment for my wife and I, because here's us packing our entire family into a 27-foot friggin' Cruise America RV, driving across country, and we finally made it to like where we were gonna like build our lives, And so that's January 17th. That's called Pittsburgh Day in our family.
Oh,
So yeah.
Nice.
that's nice.
So then you moved there. So what's a little bit about Pittsburgh? Because you had to move there first, right?
Yeah. So we moved here first, and we just really liked everything about it. For us, what was real crazy was how cheap things were coming from the Bay Area. I mean, you guys are in New York City. I mean, we have it like it's a unique experience when you live in like an urban area like New York City or like the Bay Area, where everything's really expensive, and then you go somewhere where you're looking at houses or things in a whatever city in the Midwest. You're like, you can get a 7-bedroom mansion for that day, and you know what I mean. So that was a huge thing when we moved here. Is like things were really cheap, and that was like kind of our first like sticker shock thing. But trying to set up like your life right after moving across country is crazy. Like, they ended up being like a big snowstorm that weekend, so it shut down all like everything. Every winter, from what I hear from the Pittsburgh lore, from everybody I work with, every year there's always one time where the meteorologist on TV will be like, this is going to be the craziest storm of the winter, and then everybody goes out and buys beer and kielbasa and like buy all their like things, and then they go home, you know what I mean? And it was that weekend where it was supposed to be the craziest winter of the summer, or of the winter, craziest storm of the winter. So we'd gone to IKEA and bought all of our furniture, and they were like, yeah, we'll deliver it the next day. And
Oh
then
no.
It just didn't show up the next day, and because of the storm and all. So we didn't have furniture for 4 days. So it was a crazy situation. But Pittsburgh, we rented an apartment and tried to move everything in the first like 2 weeks, but we didn't really have that much. And kind of walked around, but it was so, like cold for
Yeah.
us, like California boy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of how it was at the beginning.
Have you worked a snowstorm yet?
So, no.
Oh, don't.
Well, because of this last summer was really mild. I don't know how it was for you guys, but
No, it wasn't bad.
in Pittsburgh it was super mild
Yeah.
because everybody's like at the end of the end of the winter. It was like we really didn't have one time where it dumped. I think I shoveled the front sidewalk like 3 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, so I remember though this year my first call when it was actually snowing, because I actually stopped and looked at my partner and I was like, "Hey, Kenny," it was a chest pain call from those anxiety chest pain calls.
Yep.
And he comes out. I think he just wanted to get out of work.
Yeah.
He's got his eye like over here. He's like, "Where's the ambulance?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember looking at my partner and saying, "It's snowing. This is the first call I've ever worked where it was snowing." And this is my partner's like a PA, like, no, like, is it like a PA, like native, and he's like, "Look at this guy over here." Like,
Oh.
patient laughed at me. Yeah.
You'll hate it. Don't worry.
Hey,
You'd be amazed how much the crazy calls that you're like, why did you call for this? And why do you have your 1976 rear-wheel drive Pontiac out in the snow? It's amazing.
I don't know. Maybe there may not be as much snow anymore. It's not like it was, when we were kids. So I don't know.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I mean, I don't know if it's going in that direction. It's not like it.
And the Earth is healing itself since we all are in quarantine. Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have like a lot of crazy steps and stuff up to like walk-ups in your guys'?
Yes. I mean, it depends on the neighborhood. Like there's a lot of public housing buildings that are luckily just kind of like, if someone's shoveled like the housing authority is supposed to, you can kind of walk up to the front of the building. But there's like tons of, these walk up older buildings where there's like, 6 steps of a stoop and it's just iced over. And you're like, trying to get up these stairs and like get all your equipment up there. And then if you have to carry the patient out, you're like, just remember those stairs, on your way out.
Yeah.
But this year was like nothing. I feel like it didn't even really snow at all. I felt bad for my kid because I was just like, we had nothing going on. But I mean, for us, it was great. Like, I don't mind not working in the snow,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was kind of a bummer for the kids, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
yeah,
we have a lot of crazy steps like here, especially in our area that I work. So it's like a lot of older, we're talking like over 100-year-old houses that have like busted up like concrete steps that go up to the house where you're like, in your mind, you're like, I need to make a mental note of that step because I will break my leg coming down it.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a patient on a stair chair. So then you get up to the door and then it's another like wrappy round,
Yeah.
I hate those turns.
And those are, I love the look of it. I mean, I feel like that's one of the things that here we have a lot of those. I feel like Chicago's got like those kind of like style of home. And I think it looks beautiful. And like, if that's where you live, that's really great. But when you are walking into someone's house or a building and it comes in as like a chest pain or something that has the potential to require you to actually carry them out, and you see those like spiral staircase, oh my God, it's just awful. Cause like they get so narrow at that curve, and like, we'll tell each other like, oh, watch that step. Like that's a weird one. Cause you'll get like, 5 stairs up and then it's like a giant step to the 6th one, or like really no space between them. And, you're mentally just going along and then all of a sudden you're like, like falling up the stairs,
Totally.
So,
I mean, that's an art too. Chair, like crazy art. So
yeah, the architecture, I feel like after talking to you folks, and I think you posted a picture of your porch, I was like, oh, what does Pittsburgh look like? And I kind of looked up certain houses and I was like, oh, I like the way it looks in Pittsburgh, But yeah, I don't know how working there would be. how
it's,
ideal.
you know, every place has its thing, you know, and it's like, it's crazy how we just, you know, adapt and overcome with whatever we can. You know, I was thinking about you guys when you guys posted that video about making a stair chair into a backpack.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I was thinking about like, if I had to walk a stair chair up five like flights of stairs in a walk up, and thinking about having to hump like, you know, our like drug bag monitor,
Yeah, monitor, all that.
suction, like everything before.
Yeah.
Like we had a call like a couple, like 2 weeks ago, was ended up being a cardiac arrest, but we had to force entry into the house, and that's one cool thing we can do is we can force entry like with pneumatic tools, which is pretty dope. Broke the door down. She ended up being unresponsive, but it was like, you know, one of those calls where it was just like, you know, crazy things happening like all of a sudden, and you're all by yourself, and I can't imagine being up five flights. We're not even talking about PPE, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like getting on gowns and, you know, whatever the protocols are, but having to move all that equipment up that many flights of stairs for a critical call. So when you guys like get something like that, like an E0 call, or like somebody's not breathing at all or something, that's how it comes in. Like, what are you dispatched with? You're dispatched with like you guys get a BLS unit or an engine, or what do you guys get?
Yeah, I mean, if we're getting a cardiac arrest call, always gets ALS, BLS, an engine company, and a boss.
Yeah.
So you know you're going to have a couple of people on the job with you. And I think for like an unconscious, it's us and an engine company. For cardiac diff breather, it's us and an engine company. Like usually BLS is only dispatched with us to like a cardiac arrest call. But there's been times, I mean, we had a job not that long ago where it came in as an unconscious in a nursing home, and it's like a nursing home we're pretty familiar with.
Yeah.
And I went over the air before we got there and just said like, hey, you want to send a BLS with us because it's probably an arrest. And the dispatcher said negative, like go check it out. And as soon as we got in, I was like, now can you send us the BLS for the arrest and the firefighters and the boss because it's an arrest.
The annoying thing is like the BLS will say, oh, it says chest pain in the text, and then they'll add ALS to it. So it's kind of annoying, you know, when you get that. So
it depends on the dispatcher because there's definitely BLS that get a call that comes in as a sick job. And then if they read through the text, they'll say, oh, person complaining of cough and chest pain. And then they'll ask the dispatcher, oh, send us ALS because, you know, we have a chest pain. And depending on the dispatcher, they'll say, why don't you check it out and then, you know, get back to us. And then sometimes dispatchers are like, yeah, go back up BLS. And we're like, it says it's a fever and a cough, but okay. But yeah, like those jobs where we get like a diff breather and the apartment number, like what did we have recently? It was like number 20. And I'm like, man, I was like, I guarantee you this is a walk up.
Yeah, sometimes like 2 will be on the second floor and then 3 is the third, but they numbered them like.
Yeah, there's a lot of our older buildings, like in certain neighborhoods like Williamsburg, or in Crown Heights, if you get an apartment that says like E3, you know that's going to be like A, B, C, D. E is the 5th floor. That's a walk up. Like I am in J4. I'm on the 4th floor of my building. It's a walk up. And buildings that just have numbers, like, oh, you're going to apartment number 12, it's probably on the 3rd floor. But if it's apartment number 20, like this was, I was like, oh man, it's going to be on the 5th floor walk up. And Peter's like, maybe not. And I'm like, yes, it will be. And then as soon as we got there, I was like, I think this might even be on the 6th floor. And by the time we got all the way upstairs, I was like, what is this, the 5th, the 5th, the 6th? The girl was like, no, it's the 5th. I was like, well, it feels much worse than that, you know, like with all that equipment, I was like, I don't know what floor we're on, but it took a long time to get up here, you know?
Yeah. And it's even worse in the Bronx. So, because I came out as BLS in the Bronx, and then I went to go back to get MUP, and do you want to go back to the Bronx? I'm like, nope. Nope. Everything was a walk up, man. I was like, yo, hump all that stuff back upstairs.
That's crazy.
I'm good, bro.
That's just crazy to me. Like I have we have a lot of equipment, and I can imagine, like I have one partner who's older, and like watching him, he's just watching him trying to like hump like half of that equipment up upstairs. We carry a lot of stuff, and especially when you've been doing it for a long time. So I try to watch us back. Take our blue bag on the monitor and give him like the oxygen. I mean, he's earned it. He's been on the job for 30 freaking some odd years.
Yeah.
A set of stairs, I'll take the bag and the monitor, and he can take the oxygen and the lead, and you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it works. So, but usually, funny thing, like what you guys were saying about how, asking, ALS is asking to attach ALS, so their call, and a dispatcher has the discretion to shut that down. And that's crazy here, because the dispatchers, if I, whatever I kind of want, I can ask for and I'll get it, unless it's something just like way off track. And then one of our supervisors will like chime in and kind of ask you what is going on. And but most of the time, I mean, I don't think I've ever really been denied like something I needed, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think for here in New York, it depends on the call volume. Like when we're having a significantly high call volume, you might say like, they'll give us a job totally out of our area where it's like, we're going to be on the road for about 15 minutes driving this call. So we'll say like, hey, do you guys have a BLS backup? Because we're extended. And like, sometimes it's almost like they didn't think about it. So they'll say, yeah, hang on. And they'll send us BLS. And like, if everything works out wonderfully, and that was like not a chest pain call, it was just like, a 19-year-old who's having anxiety, the BLS gets there and cancels us. But like during the COVID thing, it was so weird to hear people asking for backup, because even I was getting annoyed. I was like, there is no backup. Like, stop asking for backup, because people would be like, oh, we're highly extended to this. And it's like, yes, everyone is highly extended,
Well, in those situations where everybody's extended, everybody's like being stretched to the limit. Yeah, gets annoying when you hear. I would be the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get annoyed when we hear people. They'll say, "Yeah, it's gonna take them like 25 minutes to get there." And we're like,
"Yeah, no."
No.
I know. Or like sometimes we'll try to take a job, like another medic unit will get a job in our area because we just are not that close. Like it's our area, but we're at a different hospital, and we'll hear it and we'll say something like, oh, you know what? That's our job. Like we could probably grab it. So we'll say, hey, whatever. We'll take our job. We've got like a 5-minute ETA, knowing that the other unit probably is maybe closer. Maybe they have a 5-6-minute ETA. And then they'll ask the other unit, what's your ETA? And they'll be like, 12 minutes. And I'm like, come on. Like, I get so annoyed. I'm like, I want to take the job for you. Just thank us. And like, just let us take the job. Don't lie about how long it's going to take you to get there,
Totally. So are you guys deployed in like, so your area, there's multiple units deployed in that area, but does your specific ambulance have a geographical like area? Like, all units cover that.
We're supposed to sit within a certain, so we have a cross street location. So we sit at Bushwick and Flushing Avenue. So we cover the area around that. I can't remember what the amount of geographical blocks you're supposed to cover.
It's like it's an atom is what it's called. An ATOM. So it's whatever the police car in that area covers. And we all sit within an atom, and you're supposed to be within 3 blocks of your cross street location to be considered like compliant with that. And like, I mean, you can do any jobs in that area. It's not like you're just going to do jobs within that 3-block area, but even still, you can do jobs like well outside of that area, depending on who's on a call or if there's a unit run down. But yeah, like for the most part at night, we just get our ambulance and we have to go to our area. So, that's kind of, I mean, I'm assuming for you folks, you have a station, but are you supposed to stay at your station then all evening and kind of wait to get dispatched?
So at night, so we have stations, and then we have areas, like they're called RAMs, and it's basically like our geographical area, but we're kind of responsible for that area. So at night, we can go anywhere really, but during the day, it's kind of, you should be in your area during the day just because there's so much traffic and getting around is a lot less, is a lot harder during the day. So at night, you can get from one end of the city knowing how to get there easily. But at the same time, I mean, you should be in your area. So if like something comes out, it's not, because when we take a call, we actually have to, we over the radio say where we are, and it's crazy. It's how it works. So we say it, the police do too. So when the police like take a call on their channel, and it's funny because there's a lot of things around here that I've noticed being new that have been the same way for 60, 70 years. So a lot of the things that like probably we took as EMS back in 75 were from the police. The way that we like take a call and respond to it, and the way that like radio etiquette wise was probably taken from like the police in the mid 70s. So we have to say where we're coming from. So if I'm like, you know, like, yeah, a medic who's responding from, you know, wherever, and everybody on the radio knows that I'm like across town from where I'm supposed to be at 3:30 in the morning, you know.
Yeah.
Usually as long as it's like okay, and you know, but yeah, we should be. And our area is actually pretty massive. It's a pretty big area to cover. Not like we have kind of urban parts of it, and then there's more like there's suburban-y parts, but it's a lot of area. We're the second largest area in the city. I might be mistaken by that, but I think it's second.
But you'll essentially do jobs out of your area as well, right? If like Medic 1 gets a job, you could cover their area.
Yeah, for sure. So like we all have our like second in zones, like into what we are second into, like, but Medic 2 is not second into a lot of different zones, because we're always, it's called utilization hours, like are very high. We're used a lot just because we have 4 times and we have a larger area. So, you know, we don't necessarily go into people's areas as often as other units like that are downtown or centrally located, you know, like around other units, that so they know that if somebody's getting a call that they're next in, and they're most likely going to be in that area.
Okay.
Next, 30 minutes, but we are second into a couple different areas, but not.
You guys try to steal stuff? Adam would admit it. You guys like try to jump other people's hot jobs?
Oh, we did. So when was the last time you talked to him? We did. We jumped a call to a car wreck job where a car ended up on its roof, and like, you know, it's one of those jobs where you show up, a car's on the roof and nobody's there.
Yeah.
And everybody's gone, and there's just like weed vape pens, like, and the car's on
Yeah.
Where'd everybody go? And this is on, you know, on the busway or the expressway.
Yeah.
And like, oh, you know, some just random Mazda like pulled up, picked them up, and yeah, we jumped a call. And
All right.
That was nothing good though, I guess.
That's the worst. Like when you go steal somebody's job and then it turns out to either be a shit show or nothing.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah. No,
when you try to do that.
Yeah, we should jump more calls.
You gotta listen to the police, bro. You gotta come hang out with us. We'll show you how to buff.
Dude, I'd be so down though. Like, when all this is over, when all this, I mean, however it turns out with COVID or whatever, like down the road, it'd be awesome to come up and hang out with you guys.
Yeah, we found out the other night that people follow us and stuff. They're like looking to see where we are. Like when a job comes in,
really,
especially like a shooting or something. Yeah, everybody's like ETRing to see where we are, and then because like we're already driving that way, so like other people, are like, oh, we're gonna try to get there before them.
Well, that's one of the nice things that we have the ability to do. We have a computer in our ambulance that you can press a command, which is ETR. I forget what ETR stands for, but anyway, you can ETR some other unit and you can find out where they are. So people mostly do this when you're like, why are we doing a job in so-and-so's area? And then you ETR them to make sure they're like, and then you're like, oh, that's why, because they're not in their area, you know, and you get like all annoyed. But we do it too when it's like we hear, let's say BLS gets the shot, you know, and we're like, oh, ETR them, where are they? And like we'll be like, oh, they're not that far or they're not that close. We could definitely make it. And
So
then we'll
you
start
listen-
going
you
towards it.
flip on the police channel and you listen to the cops, and then we have Citizen. So Citizen is like
SF has Citizen too.
Yeah.
it's the same thing. So like if you get a hit on Citizen, and then it comes over on like PD, then you know it's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's kind of nice because like we will basically start heading that way quickly to kind of get that job. And then apparently we didn't realize, but like a few of the other units at our station, I guess, have ETR'd us to see if they're, like, oh, they're on their way there, like, because of course we are, but yeah, I feel like after everything is said and done, I feel like I'd love for you folks to come here and vice versa. Like, I would love to do like a ride along in Pittsburgh. I wish we could just, that's just, who knows what's going on right now with all this stuff.
Things are so crazy right now. I mean, around here, it wasn't like it was where you guys were, but like listening to that podcast that you guys had with everybody when everybody was on it. I think Adam was supposed to be on it too or something. Maybe he came late. I can't remember. But that was a great podcast because you guys were talking a lot about these like symptoms that you're seeing, like just right from the door, knowing that basically just based on call information, where it is and that call information. And then when you hit that door or whatever, and from, down the hall or whatever, just based on whatever symptoms or these things that you're seeing like day to day. It was good to hear you guys talk about that because I could definitely integrate that into what I was seeing and thinking, like as I was going into rooms. So
yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you took something from that. And it's funny because I think we were all learning, and we've all been learning as we went along, because things have changed. Even the way that patients were being treated then, like it's not the way that people are being treated currently. And there's other symptoms and stuff. So, we're still kind of like learning.
Completely changed from
Yeah.
what it was before.
So now everybody has like strokes and pulmonary embolisms,
Yeah.
So.
All right. So I don't want to talk about COVID, but let's wrap up. So we got an hour. So let's refill our water, and we'll come back with Rich Fredell from Pittsburgh. All right.